The Meeples and Miniatures podcast is sponsored by Two Fat Lardies, Geek Nation Tours, and by the generous donations of you, the listener. Thank you to everyone for your continued support. We really appreciate it. The Meeples and Miniatures podcast, episode 224, Forager, with hosts Neil Shuck, Mike Hobbs and Mike Whittaker, and guest Adrian McWalter. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. My name is Neil Shuck, and on this show I am joined once again by the Welsh wizard himself. It is Mr. Hobbs. Hello, sir.
Hello, Neil. Hello, Meeps. How is everybody? Have we all done the caption competition yet?
Yes.
More of this later.
More of this later, indeed. Yeah, thank you for that. Git. And also, we have our very own travelling troubadour. It is indeed Mr. Whittaker himself. Hello, sir. How are you? How is your cake?
I have no cake.
No different vegetable to put into your ingredients this week, then?
No, although I am still creasing up over that exchange on Twitter.
Is there such a thing as cake with broccoli in it?
It was asparagus, actually, and I did find a recipe for a cake with asparagus in it.
Yeah, but then somebody asked about broccoli. I'm thinking,
I missed that one. Oh. I'm sure there is. Why wouldn't there be? It's just a source of cellulose to hold the damn thing together.
Yeah, I mean...
I have cake.
Do you?
Yeah.
He has cake.
I'm sat here looking at it now, or half of it.
What kind of cake have you got?
I have Welsh cake because I'm patriotic.
Oh, those are good. I do like those.
Very nice.
Welsh cakes.
Made you ground Welshman.
No, I've just found a recipe for chocolate broccoli cake. I think we better move on.
That is just so wrong.
Knowing the way these things go, it probably works in some very weird and strange way, but I'm not even going to think about passing that one on to Anne to try.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I know there are different ways that parents try to entice their children to eat
broccoli.
To eat broccoli, but putting it in chocolate cake? Okay.
Indeed, yes.
Indeed.
Quite.
Well, as a phrase, moving swiftly on. Yes, hello one and all. Greetings. Welcome to the show. What do we have for you on this week's show? Well, obviously we'll be catching up with what we've been up to in this week. Again, no Mr. Luff, as he is... Well, actually, at the moment, he's attempting to finish his week's work so we can spend a couple of days somewhere near a certain Welsh game store. But more of that next week, I suspect. However, in the meantime...
Is that a long way of saying slacking?
Yeah, probably.
Drinking.
Either way, he's not here. There is a possibility he might be on the show sometime in the near future. You never know. Right, so we will be catching up with what we've been up to in the last week, which might have a couple of interesting things on it. You never know. And then for our main part of the show, we will see the return of Adrian McWalter, who we last spoke to back in February about Over the Hills, Napoleonic rule set, which I know has a particular soft spot in Mr. Hobbs's heart.
It does indeed. It's a good game.
Well, Adrian is back with a new set of rules that he's launching on Kickstarter. Napoleonic yet again, but this time more skirmish in nature. And he will be telling us all about that, and that's coming up later on in the show. However, before then, we need to catch up with what we've been up to. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back with you shortly. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. My name is Neil Shuck, and on this show, I am joined once again by the Welsh wizard himself. It is Mr. Hobbs. Hello, sir.
Hello, Neil. Hello, Meeps. How is everybody? Have we all done the caption competition yet?
Yes.
More of this later.
More of this later, indeed. Yeah, thank you for that. Git. And also, we have our very own travelling troubadour. It is indeed Mr. Whittaker himself. Hello, sir. How are you? How is your cake?
I have no cake.
No different vegetable to put into your ingredients this week, then?
No, although I am still creasing up over that exchange on Twitter.
Is there such a thing as cake with broccoli in it?
It was asparagus, actually, and I did find a recipe for a cake with asparagus in it.
Yeah, but then somebody asked about broccoli. I'm thinking...
I missed that one.
Oh.
I'm sure there is. Why wouldn't there be? It's just a source of cellulose to hold the damn thing together.
Yeah, I mean...
I have cake.
Do you?
Yeah.
He has cake.
I'm sat here looking at it now, or half of it.
What kind of cake have you got?
I have Welsh cake because I'm patriotic.
Oh, those are good. What do you like those?
Very nice.
Welsh cakes.
Made you ground Welshman.
No, I've just found a recipe for chocolate broccoli cake. I think we better move on.
That is just so wrong.
Knowing the way these things go, it probably works in some very weird and strange way, but I'm not even going to think about passing that one on to and try.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I know there are different ways that parents try to entice their children to eat
broccoli.
To eat broccoli, but putting it in chocolate cake. Okay.
Indeed, yes.
Indeed.
Quite.
Well, as a phrase, moving swiftly on. Yes, hello one and all, greetings, welcome to the show. What do we have for you on this week's show? Well, obviously we'll be catching up with what we've been up to in this week. Again, no Mr. Luff, as he is... Well, actually at the moment he's attempting to finish his week's work so we can spend a couple of days somewhere near a certain Welsh game store. But more of that next week, I suspect. However, in the meantime...
Is that a long way of saying slacking?
Yeah, probably.
Drinking.
Either way, he's not here. There is a possibility he might be on the show sometime in the near future. You never know. Right, so we will be catching up with what we've been up to in the last week, which might have a couple of interesting things on it. You never know. And then for our main part of the show, we will see the return of Adrian McWalter, who we last spoke to back in February about Over the Hills, Napoleonic rule set, which I know has a particular soft spot in Mr. Hobbs's heart.
It does indeed. It's a good game.
Well, Adrian is back with a new set of rules that he's launching on Kickstarter. Napoleonic yet again, but this time more skirmish in nature. And he will be telling us all about that, and that's coming up later on in the show. However, before then, we need to catch up with what we've been up to. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back with you shortly. What have we been playing? What have we been buying? We might even have painted something. The Meeples and Miniatures crew reveal all. So what have we been up to since we last spoke? Quite a bit. Some people have a lot of confessing to do. I'll just leave that out there for this moment.
What have you done, Mike?
Nothing I'm allowed to talk about.
Actually, that's an interesting point. Are there any of us that are actually allowed to talk about anything?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. That's always reassuring. Shall I go first for a change? Okay.
That would be a novel experience, yes.
Indeed. Well, I will leave a bit of our tale to another member of the team, and I'll just kind of introduce that in a minute. Painted? Nothing. Yeah.
Hereby inserting the Dave Luff Memorial snarky remark.
Indeed. Yes. No, I haven't got anything painted this week. I'm busy doing other things and finishing sorting all life out. The really good news is that Mrs. Shook is now home, and so my days of running round to various different parts of the county every night are currently over.
I'm currently restricted to merely going to fetch them from McDonald's, as I understand it.
Indeed. So hopefully my evenings where I'll maybe get the odd evening back where I can now catch up on doing a little bit of painting, as opposed to just having to spend my entire time, my entire free time podcast editing. But there we go.
Insert obligatory Dave Love snarky remark. Yeah.
Indeed. But yeah, so that's the plan, especially since I now have entered and paid money to enter the Warring States campaign day, which is at the end of September for Test of Honor that is being run on then. So if nothing else, I have to ensure that I do have 24 points of Painted Samurai in between now and then, and I've got a choice of 2 different warbands I've got in my head, but I do need to actually physically get some painting done in about 6 weeks. Insert snarky remark here.
I didn't say anything.
Yes, indeed.
This time.
Yes. So that was painting. I have purchased a little bit. You know, we have all this Conan stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was a couple of bits I missed from Conan. And there's actually a couple of the Kickstarter exclusives that I would like to get. And I spotted a couple of them on eBay this week. They arrived this morning. So I got the Demon and Black Dragons.
Oh, the Black Dragons are nice.
Yeah. I was thinking about getting Bal Pator as well, but I thought what they were asking for the figure was a bit OTT for one man-sized figure. But I do like the Demon, so yeah, I was willing to prepare to pay for the Demon, but not Bal Pator. However, that was the extent of my actual purchases this week, although I did have to pay for my Budgers and Barrows Kickstarter. So it has been a relatively expensive week thus far, and it is not yet over. So that's purchasing. Gaming! Yes, got some gaming done. Very happy to report that we finally conquered Scenario 1 of Dungeon Saga.
Yay!
Woohoo, only level 11 to go.
At the 8th attempt.
Jeez.
Yeah. So we're now level 1 instead. Yeah. So we're now level 1 instead of level 0. So at this point in time, I think Dave is trying to take this as an excuse that he doesn't have to buy any other expansions of Dungeon Saga because it's going to take us the best part of a year to finish the first one.
He's got a reasonable argument there.
Yeah. But whether we ever let logic like that stand in the way of buying stuff?
Indeed. So that was Thursday. A rare event happened on Monday, in which I was invited by the Welsh Wizard along with Mr. Adrian Deacon and Mr. Jim Ibbotson. I was invited to Tractorland for a day working on a secret project that we can't talk an awful lot about. Sorry. Having said that, the one thing I have known A. Deacon for a long time. Because he used to be one of those people who provided an awful lot of lead in my direction when he used to run battle on us. However, even I was not prepared for the sight of his garage. Put it this way, I thought I had a spare room of shame with my miniatures and board game collection. I now don't feel anywhere near as bad as I used to. So have you seen Aid's garage? You know how it is, you can always point to somebody else and gotta go, yeah, if you thought I was bad, look over there.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in A's Garage.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in A's Garage. So I don't feel quite so bad. But yes, I managed to meet up for a day's gaming with Mr. Hobbs, Mr. Ibbotson, and Mr. Deacon. An interesting day was had, including, learning certain rules like never turn your back on a Welsh wizard with the camera phone. Yeah, and thank you, lucky stars. My jeans are in a decent position.
But if you're prepared to drop something behind Jim's painting desk and then go scuttling underneath it, what's a man to do? And anyway, it was Aid's fault. He made me take the photograph.
Yeah. If you're wondering about the offending photograph, just check out Mr. Hobbs' Twitter feed. Yes.
Oh, maybe we'll put it onto the page for this episode.
Oh yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah. Yes.
And we could run the caption competition properly.
We could run the caption competition properly.
Oh, would that be that photo then?
Oh, you found it then.
Yes, that photo of me under a desk.
Am I exempt from entering?
Nope, not at all.
Oh, right.
But Mike, ask yourself, if you were in my position, would you have...
If I was in your position, I'd have been walking a long way in the opposite direction.
After taking the photograph, of course.
Yes, anyway, so thank you to Mr. Hobbs for taking that photo. Enter a caption competition. There will be prizes. I actually do have a prize that somebody can have. In fact, a couple of prizes. There will be a couple of prizes. But they are games rules, okay? I will put that out there now. They are games rules. Up for this, prizes. Okay? So we'll let this run. Shall we let this run for a couple of weeks?
Oh, I think so.
As long as we actually remember to award the prizes sometime.
Yeah. Yes, we will. I will reveal the prizes. But yes, there are a couple of sets of rules up for grabs, and that was me. That was about me. So at this point, I will pass over to Mr. Hobbs, and he can complete the second half of the story that we cannot talk about. Although I will say one thing, I have now proven to more people just how bad I am at rolling dice.
Yes, it's a shame we can't talk about it.
It is,
because I could wax lyrically for hours about your dice rolling, and the fact that when there's a bell curve, for dice probability, Neil is on either side of it. Anyway,
usually the wrong end.
Yeah, you would be on the wrong end of the bell curve for whatever he needs to do.
Indeed. Yeah. Enough said. We'll tell you about it in due course.
Yes, possibly. Me, right, so what have I been up to? Painting. Very little this week because we've been decorating in the Hobbs Towers. Ready for some important guests which will be arriving later this week. I have finished off a couple of dwarves from my dwarf collection. I've had a couple of games. Obviously the game with Neil, Jim and Aid, which we can't talk about.
Mm.
But I had another game.
Mm.
Last Thursday, met up with my mate Mark and Steve. Hi, Steve.
Hello, Steve.
Steve, who hasn't been very well, but he's now was back out for the first time playing games. And Jeff was there as well. Hi, Jeff.
Hello, Jeff.
And running the game were two celebrity umpires. We had Matt and Ralph from the Forest Dean Gamers. That's Matt from Glenbrook Games. And they put on a game of Lion Rampant for the four of us to play, using a few tweaks to make it a bit of a Lord of the Rings Lion Rampant game.
Easing it in the direction of Dragon Rampant without quite being Dragon Rampant.
Yeah, pretty much. So,
pretty much what we're doing at the club with Direwolf Rampant, which is stealing the good bits of Lion Rampant and Dragon Rampant to make a Game of Thrones game.
Mm. So we played that, and it was a great fun game. I'm not sure about the rules. I will be honest with you. I could see what Dan Mercer's trying to do, but I loved the game. The thing, I mean, it's Matt and Ralph's figures. They were gorgeous. It was a lovely table, a fantastic scenario, good multiplayer, fun game. Everyone had a laugh. But at the end of it, I sort of felt a bit meh.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why it is. It's as a multiplayer game, we played it in 2 hours, loads of figures, and it was great fun. But it was just, I didn't finish the game thinking I want to build a Lion Rampant army, or I would happily play it again, but it just didn't grab me for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I can't put my finger on it at all. Maybe it was a little bit chaotic, I don't know, but anyway, as a gaming experience, it was second to none. But that's probably the company and the figures and the scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Matt and Ralph run a good game, don't they?
They really do, and it was just fun. So, I want to play it again because I don't like walking away from rules, thinking that that was a bit poor. I want to try and get my head around them a bit more and try and understand some of the mechanics behind it. But that being said, really simple game to pick up. It's nice, clean mechanics. So yeah, if you haven't tried it, give it a go. But maybe it just wasn't for me. Other than that, buy-in.
You only bought 2 boxes of figures.
I only bought 2 boxes of figures. You see, after playing the Lord of the Rings game,
it now all slots into place.
Yeah. You see, when GW released the Lord of the Rings games, I never got into it because I bought a couple of packs and I wouldn't really fuss on the rules. And I've never really found a set of rules that will allow me to play Lord of the Rings in the way I want to play it.
Mm-hmm.
So I purposely kept away from it. And then we had this game with Matt and Ralph, and I thought, it'd be nice just to build up a couple of small forces. Nothing big, Neil, just a few.
Just a couple of small, yeah.
Just a couple of small forces. And then that pusher of lead, Mr. Deacon, turned around and went, I got a little bit of that in my garage.
Yeah.
So which
he wasn't using.
Yes, the aforementioned garage. Yeah.
So I walked out of Aid's house with 2 boxes of Lord of the Rings figures.
Okay.
And yesterday I unpacked the 300 figures that were in those boxes.
Yes. When we say 2 boxes, those 2 boxes were in fact 2 of these, these foldable crates, these plastic foldable crates.
I know exactly the ones you mean.
Indeed. Yeah. The ones that hold box files there. There were 6 box files plus another bunch of things. Oh, and plus, because we were at Jim's, Jim Ibbotson, who was a fantastic painter, turned around and went,
fantastic everything.
Yeah, turned around and went, I got some of those, and reached underneath his table and pulled out this little battered box and went, you can have these.
Here's some that Neil planted under this table earlier.
Yeah. And there's about 20 or 30 beautifully painted Gondor troops, which he just gave to me. So thank you, Jim. They're beautiful. And thank you, Aid, for pushing me the lead pile. And
if you want to see some pictures, just check out Mr. Hobbs's Twitter feed. It's like, okay, and they just keep on coming.
Yeah.
And the table just keeps on getting filled.
Yeah, I filled my table up. And also thank you to Jeff, who contacted me on Twitter, who lives about 10 miles away from you, who also went, I've got some Lord of the Rings stuff you could buy off me if you want it cheap. So I'm seeing him on Sunday.
Mr. Hobbs.
Battle of Eleanor Field, here we go.
Oh, I could do with a couple of dozen figures.
Yeah.
You are hopeless. You are absolutely hopeless.
Yes, but you've always known this, Neil. This is not new information. If I'm gonna, I've held off for 16 years, Neil. I went cold turkey.
Yeah, but by gum, you're making up for lost time.
Now's the perfect time to get your Lord of the Rings figures, Mike, because apparently everyone's selling them really cheap.
I sold mine a couple of years ago where you could have had them.
What's the phrase? Until now, where there seems to be some sort of unprecedented spike in the market. Yes.
Yeah.
I sense a disturbance in the dear Lord and Father of mankind, Hobbsy. How many figures have you just acquired?
300.
I've just seen the picture.
Yes.
Oh.
Plus 2 trolls.
Okay. Right.
So thanks, Aid. Yeah. They're all safe now, Aid. They're all wrapped up nicely.
Haven't you got enough to paint?
It'll keep me going for a while.
You get Neil to paint them for you.
You can't afford to wait that long.
No.
Right.
So, over to you, Mr. Whittaker. Beat
Is that it?
That's enough.
Yeah, I think you're right, yeah.
So what have I been up to? Let's see. Next round of the club's Border Reivers campaign with open combat. I actually won!
Hey!
Nice little scenario where the attacker has to get into the defender's premises and destroy the chest containing the paperwork which will incriminate him in the next truce day when he's hauled before the sheriff. And I basically conducted a fairly successful blocking both doors defence. It was good fun. Nice little system. I do like it. That's about all I've played. Assembled some more card buildings, and sort of the slow and steady with which finishes the race, and picked up some more odds and sods from Flames of War. I now have some of their metal Italy British infantry, which are the ones with khaki drill shirts in shirt sleeve order, rather than standard battle dress.
Mm-hmm.
Rifle platoon, machine gun platoon. The British finally have some Vickers, which they've been begging me for ages. It's not fair, he's got MG42s, why can't we have them? Because Vickers are divisional level supports, apparently. I don't know what the British Army were thinking there. If you look at the organisation charts in, for example, Battle for Liberation, the Vickers platoon is a divisional level support. So, yeah, and basically I think they just generally assumed that there were so many brain carriers around.
Oh, yeah.
You get by with a brain. So, yeah, usefully, they're classic Flames of War in that there's at least one more figure than you actually need. There's considerably more figures than you actually need for a standard 8 figures per section base in the rifle platoon, in that there are 30 figures for the sections, so it's enough to actually leave me some spares for bumping up the machine gun crews to 5, because for some reason they've only got 3, which doesn't really work very well for I Ain't Been Shot On. And I've also got a box of PSC Universal Carriers on order, which Luffy will no doubt be amused by.
Yeah, they're nice now. Bit fiddly,
it's quite
amusing
noticing how PSC spotted the Flames of War one coming out. Flames of War do a 9 Universal Carriers box.
Yes.
For the same price. Unfortunately, it only does Universal Carriers. Full stop. Brain gun on the front. End of story. Given the PSC box does 2-inch mortar carrier, 3-inch mortar carrier, Vickers carrier, Wasp, 2 different models of Wasp,
OP unit,
and heaven knows what else.
Yes. And a brain carrier.
And a brain carrier. Just in case you actually wanted a brain carrier, it'll do you a brain carrier. Yes. But the only thing it doesn't do is a Piat.
Indeed.
But since I have a superfluity of Piats, because I also managed to pick up there's a limited release Battlefront 3 Piat teams here in this box, here in this Ziploc bag, I've got enough to keep me going and add a few more forces for the Italy campaign, basically.
Cool.
Which is making me happy, and I'm busy prepping for said game at the other partisan in a week and a half's time.
Week and a half's time. Yeah.
It's all right. It's I've run enough I Ain't Been Shot On scenarios and designed them recently that prep for that kind of thing is not hard. Although the Germans are going to be on the attack this time, just to be different. Did I mention I'd built another couple of Churchill NA-75s to go with the one I built earlier? So I've now got a troop of them.
Mm-hmm. Did you manage to sort your glue out?
Yes. Guitar string. Top plan. Go on. I do approve of the set light to it approach, but...
Oh, yes. I was going to say thank you to everybody for their various suggestions on
suggestions.
Yes.
But as I have more guitar strings kicking around in the spares box than I know what to do with, fishing out spare 10 and spare top E string and whacking it through the hole. Worked a treat.
Cool.
I think that's it. It's been we're just ramping up postings and preps for Perrywood mostly at the moment. Mm-hmm. So other than that, no, that's it, pretty much.
Cool, good stuff.
What have I been chopped on prep, basically?
Yeah. Well, in that case then, what we'll do, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we will have our feature interview with Adrian McWalter, talking all about his new set of rules, Forager.
The nation is vast. There are battlefields of old, great convention halls, and worlds of fantasy to explore. Who will guide us across this great geek nation?
Since 2010, Geek Nation Tours have been providing holidays for groups of like-minded people. Whatever your nature of geek, tabletop gaming, TV, film, comic books, sports or science, Geek Nation Tours caters for you. Visit www.geeknationtours.com for more details and join the great Geek Nation. Have you ever wondered what's going on in wargaming? We do too. So come with us as we go behind the hobby with the Meeples and Miniatures interview. We'd like to welcome back to the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. It's Adrian McWalter. How are you, sir?
I'm alright, thank you very much. Yourselves?
Yeah, we're good, thank you. We're good. Yeah, welcome back.
Thank you very much. Good to be back. Thank you for having me again.
You may or may not remember Adrian, but we chatted to Adrian. We just looked it up and we actually recorded our interview back in February. But I'm just trying to see what episode we actually published you on. But we talked to Adrian all about Over the Hills.
It was, yes.
It was, yes. Which is actually episode 196. So yeah, that was when we last chatted to Adrian. Adrian, what have you been up to since we last talked to you then?
Yeah, it's amazing that it's February. It's flown by. In the main, I've been doing quite a bit of painting and modelling, some writing for Wargames Illustrated and Wargame Soldiers and Strategy, and then really concentrating on developing a business that myself and Quinton are now running. Mm-hmm. Well, it's a fledgling business called Stand 2 Games. Obviously, we've got Over the Hills out there. I've got some products for Over the Hills, so we've been concentrating on that. And then myself and Quinton have been writing, developing, playtesting, and creating playtest groups with Forager. Oh, as well, I forgot as well. On the last time I came on, I mentioned that I'd got a third publication for Black Powder. So that's going to print very soon, which is really good, called A Clash of Eagles, which is French invasion of Russia in 1812. So yeah, it's been busy old time.
Cool. So now you mentioned Forager to us when you were on the show last time as the game you were going to be touring the shows with this year.
Yeah.
So how's that gone?
It's gone really, really well. It started off quite funny, because at first when we sat there and started getting people involved in playing it as a participation game, we went from people saying, well, what's this then? And it's it's a Napoleonic skirmish game. Yeah, but we've got sharp practice and we've got chosen man for that. And I'm like, well, no, but it's different, honestly. It's different. It's a different game. Try it. So people came along, tried it, and walked away. And we've had some very, very good feedback. And it's really pressed us on to get this out to public, which is we've found feedback is a really good game. People are having a good laugh with it.
Right. Okay. So in that case, then, why don't you tell us all about Forager? And okay, first off, Napoleonic skirmish games. Let's just say there's two or three around. As I say, there's chosen men, and especially very small scale. You got what songs of drums and shakos from several years ago from Ganesha Games. There was one that, oh crikey, who were they? Was it Durham? Durham produced, Durham War Games Group produced a set of rules for skirmishing with, and I mean they were using the 40mm British rifles from that HLBS produced. So there's been 2 or 3 around, and as you say, probably Chosen Men is probably the most recent that people may be aware of for really small scale. I mean, obviously, shot practice is something a little bit bigger. So where does Forager fit in, and how did you come up with the idea?
Right, Forager is it's a small skirmish game, so you're looking at playing with between 3 to 20 figures, depending on how in depth you want to go with the game. So it is a really small scale skirmish, but on that note, in terms of small scale, it is quite detailed in terms of individual characters having their own stats, their own personal traits, battle traits, and if you're a commander, a command trait, so you can shape your character really well. So an individual character is an individual character. The idea came from reading sharp novels, watching sharp TV, looking at some of the War and Peace stuff, some literature as well. I mean, in the book, the first opening page is about a guy who was one of the officers in La Haye-Sainte, but the name of Graham, and he talks about the French coming in and a Frenchman, levelling his musket at him, and he says there's an ensign there, and the ensign says he's going to shoot you, basically, and the guy says, well, let him have a go, and the ensign stabs him stabs the Frenchman. And it's even in even in large battles, there's small skirmish actions. There's a microcosm of the larger thing, and we wanted to capture that sort of stuff. But what we wanted to do was put a sort of a sharp-esque feel to it, where you could run, jump, hide, climb, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that was the idea when we started.
So it's Napoleonic gaming on an ITV budget.
Yeah.
I like that.
If you think about what you've seen on the TV around, some of the stuff that's antics that Sean Bean gets up to with his little band of merry men, it is around that.
Right.
But there is more to it than that.
Okay, so that's the background to it. How did you go about developing?
It's like Over the Hills. When we developed that, it came from stuff that myself and Quinton and our gaming group had been doing for quite some time. So for ages we've been playing small-scale, individual skirmish Napoleonic games, and the reason why we were doing that, it was actually a gateway for new players to get involved in Napoleonics. It's sort of catch people with a small skirmish game where they only have to paint about 6 to 10 figures, and then they find out that they enjoy Napoleonics, and then the next thing you know, they're playing the larger game. So it was it was a club sort of fishing expedition to other people who were coming down to the club to get them into Napoleonics. Was one of the main reasons we started doing it. But then, we enjoyed doing it. We thought it'd be good to get it out there because people that were playing it were having the desired effect of getting people involved in Napoleonics. And then when we took it round to the shows, it was, we haven't had bad feedback from it, which again is really, really good. I mean, don't want to get me wrong. If we did get bad feedback, we'd change things. It's been really, really good. So that's where we were with that.
I suppose with doing a game at this level, AD, you can almost go down the sort of RPG light route, can't you? Is that an approach that you wanted to take? Is to try and flesh out each individual figure and making each individual figure with particular sort of traits and abilities and that sort of stuff?
Yeah,
or?
That's bang on, so that people buy into their figure, and they also start becoming attached to the figure, and therefore by becoming attached to the figure, the character, they get attached to the game as well. And each individual character has a battle skill rating. They also have a combat rating, a fieldcraft rating, and a fatigue. But on top, so that's the basics. But on top of that, what you hang are certain traits, and depending on what level a character is, they can have a number of personal traits. Then they can have a number of battle traits. And as I said, if they're a commander, they can have a commander trait. So, for example, a personal trait might be that a character's aggressive, and they get additions to the combat, but they're easier to hit in combat because they're more concerned about hitting rather than being hit, that sort of thing. So people quite like the actual ability to shape characters how they want to shape them. So in terms of traits, there's about 70 plus traits that shape those basic skills and basic combat ability of a character. So you're right, it is role play light, which people have quite enjoyed the experience of.
Yeah, because it's it's definitely growing in favour these days. These sort of smaller games. So what else have you done to sort of add that sort of flavour onto the characters themselves? Have you got things like bits of equipment that they pick up or that they use?
Yeah, there's definitely there's several pieces of equipment. So if I sort of rewind, I can sort of explain the traits and the equipment in a better way and give people get a more fuller understanding of where I'm coming from. So in terms of a character's skill, that's a grade between 1 and 9. And in a game, there's a move phase, there's a shoot phase, there's a combat phase, and then there's a recovery phase. And characters with low skill move first in the movement phase and shoot last in the shooting phase, whereas a higher character would move last and would shoot first. However, in the movement phase, a character with a higher skill could always move before a lower one if they wanted to make that jump. Combat is a term between 1 to 3 D10 that can be added to by your traits and the equipment that you carry. Same as fieldcraft. Fieldcraft is a number of D10. So you attack with your combat and you defend with your fieldcraft. Your fatigue is the number of damage that you can take before your character's defeated. So when I said about a trait being a guy's aggressive and gets 1 D10 to their combat, if they started off with 2, I'm aggressive, I get 3 D10. And you hit on a 6+, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, so in terms of equipment, obviously you come with your arms and so if a guy was in combat with a musket with a bayonet on the end, they'd get a +1 D10 to their combat ability. There's other equipment such as tobacco and a pipe, and that's described as used to provide solace to a soldier. A character with this item can re-roll 1 dice when taking a fieldcraft test during the game. So when I talked about running, jumping, climbing, you can have things like guys running along a roof and having to jump from one roof to another roof. They'd have to take a fieldcraft test needing a certain number on a D10, probably a 7+. So if the guy had got a tobacco and pipe, he could, if he failed, he could re-roll that. So it's stuff that adds to the character of the game. The feats of daring doing a game, it adds to all that sort of thing. So I've talked about tobacco and pipe. There could be a camp kettle. So there's various items that people can wear about their body that would or could save them from getting hit. Such as there was a guy at Waterloo whose name escapes me at the moment, but I think he was the oldest surviving Frenchman who got charged down by British heavy cavalry. He was in the 105th Line Infantry Regiment. He was wearing his mess tin under his shako. It actually saved his life when he got cleaved over the head. So it's that sort of thing that we've brought into it as well. So the stuff that you're wearing can actually save you from getting hurt as well.
That sounds good. It's really quite low level, then, isn't it? With the sort of personalisation.
Yeah. Yes, it's really personalised, but the game itself, although there's all that sort of, because it's run on D10s and all, when you're fighting combat or you're shooting, you're adding and taking away D10s from both the person who's shooting or the person who's saving, and then the light touch of the equipment as well all fits into that, taking stuff away or adding stuff on. And so people pick one of we found about one of its unique selling points is people pick it up very, very quickly and they get immersed quicker into the game.
So, do you want to run through the sort of turn sequence then? Let us know how that works.
You start off with the initiative. You decide who's got the overall initiative in the turn. So you roll a d10, whoever gets the highest, or the scenario might suggest who gets the highest to start off with, they have the overall initiative. So if you've got characters that have got the same skill rating, the person with the overall initiative could either make the character go first, or they could move their characters first. And you cycle through everybody's skill until everybody's moved. Then you go into the combat phase. And in the combat phase, you actually shoot and fight. So your shooting comes first. The people with the highest skill shoot first, and you cycle down to the person with the lowest skill. And then you fight combats. And again, it's people who've got the highest skill hit first, people with the lowest skill hit last. And in terms of, just to break that down, if you're shooting, so if I'm shooting with a combat rating of 2, and I've got a rifle and I've stood, I would get +1 for the rifle and +1 for aiming, so I'd end up with 4d10. So I roll my 4d10 and I need 6+ to hit it on each of those 4d10. I get a number of hits, say I get 2 hits, and I'm hitting a character who's got a fieldcraft of 2. That fieldcraft of 2 would generate 2d10 to save that character, but they could have been in hiding or in cover, so they get an extra d10, and they might, in their turn, they might have sprinted, so they get an extra d10. So they roll 4d10 and say they save 1. I've got 1 hit through. You roll then on what we call the Butcher's Bill table, and it's a d100, and you get varying results for that. So a result could be something like one of the worst ones, or well, for a man, I guess, is not the taters, where it's if you roll between 98 and 100, it's actually a spent ball that's hit the ground and then hit the character where nobody wants to be hit. If you're a bloke, if you get what I mean. And that has certain effects on you during the game. You count as being distracted, which reduces the amount of d10 damage that you can put out there.
Distracted?
So
yeah, but distracted, Aid.
Distracted. It's a light touch, so I don't want to dwell on it that much. There are other results, such as damn use, where your character takes for 3 fatigue hits, so you can get hit in the heart, hit in your arm, or you can get one. It's called Get Your Head Down, which is a near miss, and it basically stops the character dead in the tracks, and they don't do anything. You have to try and recover them. So wherever you think you can get hit during a game, you can get hit. And then there's one called Blast. I love that, which is a character's piece of kit saved them, so they've got to give up a piece of kit, or if they don't give up a piece of kit, they take a wound. But if they do give up a piece of kit, then they survive. So it's there's been a role play in the actual wounds that you can suffer. Fight phase, the combat phase where you're fighting each other, is exactly the same sort of procedure. You're adding and taking away dice, using your combat and fieldcraft to interact with each other. And then the last part of the turn is called the recovery phase. So if you've shot or fired your musket in the recovery phase and you've been wounded during the game, you can actually try and recover some of your health back, as it were, but not much, and you have to try and reload your weapon that you fired in the shooting phase, and you have to do that using your fieldcraft dice. So the character that I talked about that had 2 fieldcraft, in the recovery phase they might put 1 to reloading the weapon and 1 to trying to bandage up their wound. And again, it's either a 6+ or a 5+, depending on the type of injury and the type of weapon you're firing. So if it's a musket, you need a 5+ to reload it. A rifle needs a 7+. So obviously it's harder for a rifleman, takes longer. And if they don't load it, they can't shoot the next turn. But you just denote you can't shoot, and then in the shooting phase, take that marker off, saying that they've spent that phase not shooting. And there's lots of other things that you can do in the recovery phase. You can interact with other characters, i.e. you can loot them. You can talk to other characters if they're non-playing characters, such as Spanish guerrillas and people like that, or locals. So there's a bit of interaction there, and a bit of a role-play light coming in the recovery phase as well. And then you flip into the next turn, and you roll off again to see who's got overall initiative. And you're back into that cycle.
Nice. That sounds great fun.
Sounds kind of fun. I like that.
Not because it's mine and Quinton's baby, but people are loving it. I've got friends who've had nothing to do with, a couple of them who've had nothing to do with wargaming. Well, I've said, come on, just have a sit round, have a beer, and have a game of this, and they've loved it. absolutely loved it. It's good fun, really good fun. I think we've docked on something really good, to be fair, as a game.
Just from the description of it, I mean, the mind is now suddenly running about campaigns and linked games and
Yeah.
Have you got rules in there for for handling that for maybe their players?
Yeah,
Fieldcraft coming up.
Yeah, definitely. We call it Blood, Sweat and Tears, and basically it's a long title for experience. And during the game, if you wish to, you can have one-off games, but if you want a linked campaign, and in the book itself, there are several linked games. I think there's about 5 linked games, and then about 4 or 5 standalone scenarios. But what you do with the Blood, Sweat and Tears is, depending on your level, you get a certain number of Blood, Sweat and Tears for things that you do during the game, and you just record that down, and at the end of the game you can, I think for every 10 Blood, Sweat and Tear points that you've got, you can cycle through getting extra pips of combat, extra traits, extra battle traits, and you can spend it how you wish to shape your character. So you can take your character down wherever you want to take it, and there's some positives to that and there's some negatives to it, because if you make somebody a really uber character, combat monster, then they start to become aggressive, and they're not bothered about their own well-being, and they could get hit more and things like that. And then that links into the linked campaigns that we've got, or the linked games. And everything that you do in that linked game has a knock-on effect to the next game, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, my mind is currently racing. I don't know about the rest of the guys. I'm currently sort of looking at my figure collection, going, if I could just get 10 of them, and maybe just get another sprue of Perry's and do some conversions.
Yeah, actually, that leads us on to something. Okay, so you said generally between from 3 to about 10-ish figures. So, how do you decide on your forces?
You can. There's definitely several ways that you can do it. I mean, you can pick. You can just say, okay, yourself, Neil. You just pick some characters, pick some traits, and put them together, and off we go. Or you can. There's several charts where you can roll your characters up if you wish. So if you're going to roll, you roll your characters, and you have a certain number of rolls, and that gives you a certain number of characters, and give you their combat skills and their basic format, and then you start to roll for their traits. And in the traits, there are some bad ones. There's weedy, which is obviously their fatigue is reduced. There's bad horsemen, because there's mounted characters as well. And then the other way that you can do it is there's pointed games. So if you wanted to go down everything's being pointed. So if you want to go down the pointed route and have a game where you know that your 400-point command is exactly got an even chance against another 400-point command, you can do that as well. In the book, we provide 2. I mentioned 400 because in the book there's a British command and there's a French command of 6 figures each to 400 points, and they've all been given various traits and various weapons and various items of kit, so that people can just pick the book up and play the game straight away. I should also say, talking about figures, one of the things that we've done at Stand 2 Games, myself and Quintin, is we've commissioned 12 figures. It's now 13 figures actually, 6 French, 6 British, that are going to go with the book to Kickstarter on the 18th of August, hopefully. And there's a special, if people think it's that good that they do get the French figures, the British figures in the book, there's a special Spanish guerrilla that we're hoping, that they'll get that for free, and we're hoping to extend the next range into Spain. Into Spanish guerrilla range. Really quite excited about everything that's going on at the moment.
Okay, let's just take a step back there, because you're producing miniatures now. Where did this all come from, mate?
Well, it's like I said, when I talked about over the years, it's one of those lifetime ambition things. And I thought, we've got friends. There's 2 guys, Andy and Kev, who work at Brigandi's studio, and they live like 2 minutes from me. And it's I've got all this resource around me, and Quinn. Let's get it used, because we've got a bit of money aside from the stuff that we've been doing. Let's reinvest it into doing something that we want to do. So we're going to give the ball a kick. We've had the figures done. They're in my conservatory at the moment. My daughter-in-law's photographing them for the character cards, and it's one of those where another one of the I want to achieve something type tick the box, and because I believe in Forager, the figures that we've produced. So I think we're going to take them to the next shows. We're at the Partisan on the 21st of August, so that the figures will be there to be gamed with by members of the public if they want to take part in the Forager participation game. So that'll be our launch, as it were, in terms of people seeing the figures. I'm going to try and get some onto Facebook and other social media outlets as soon as possible. I think the unpainted ones have been knocking about. So yeah, it's onwards and upwards, hopefully.
You mentioned something there. Character cards.
Yeah, in the book, I mentioned that there's 6 French and 6 British already made characters that you can use. In the book, we've got sheets of character cards that you can use to create your own characters, but there's also the characters that we've created in there for you to print off and use. And as well, I think one of the part of the Kickstarter will be if we get in, if it goes how we want it to go, we'll produce sets of character cards for varying nationalities and varying types of characters. Because I mentioned that it's our French and our first figures are French and British, and there's a Spanish guerrilla figure that's linked into it, and we want to go with some more Spanish guerrillas. But the rules do cover virtually all nations of the Napoleonic Wars, including Ottoman Turks, Americans, and there's some, not tongue-in-cheek national characteristics, but there are some national characteristics. So, for example, the Americans, their national characteristics for their regulars, if I can find it, is in God we trust. So they can ignore their first hit on a 7+. So there's that. British do a bit better in shooting. French, they can use instead of using their recovery dice or the fieldcraft dice in the recovery phase, they can use it to actually move again. So that's called pad of charge. But the Russians are good in combat. Austrians have got something called flint to Kartashen, which allows them to shoot a little bit better from the first shot. So we've wove a bit of, what comes with Napoleonic is a bit of national characteristics into, so we put that in as well.
Nice. So it sounds like you're almost doing a game in a box.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. What we don't want to do is the sort of endless, expansions. What we want to do is get it out there so that people can pick it up and play it and crack on with it, and everything's there that they need for them to get the characters sorted, get the army they want, and get them onto the table.
So you said the Kickstarter's going to be starting in August around the 18th. Is the book going to be softback, hardback?
It's going to be softback. It's going to be ring bound. One of the things we did, we sort of a learning process. If I had my time back with Over the Hills again, with a brand new set of rules out there, they get manhandled, or I should say, they get handled quite readily, and before you know it, you've got a decent book that's been battered to bits. And I know my Over the Hills is battered. So what I wanted to do is, like to the strongest, those rules, the ancient rules that are ring bound and quite robust.
Yeah.
I see Forager as it's in your hand, you're flicking through it, and you're looking at your character stats and all that sort of stuff, and so it's going to get well used. So all I wanted it was to be ring bound, but quite a robust document that people can use.
That'll be good. Yeah. I'm looking forward to this. I'm a bit of a fanboy when it comes to Over the Hills. I'm looking forward to it because it sounds like it's definitely going to cover a little bit of a gap in the market, isn't it? Because there are sort of skirmish games out there. Obviously, sort of Sharp Practice is the big one that we all know about. But obviously, that's a bigger level. This is taking it right down. And as you say, it is getting into that sort of semi-RPG light sort of area, which is always a popular way to get into a game. Because, you don't need many figures.
No, exactly. It's got a lot of things going for it, I think, in terms of you don't need a lot of figures. You get attached to your characters. It's quick and easy to play, but it's rewarding as well. So it's very tactical. People like.
What size table do you recommend? Is it sort of 4x4?
Yeah, 4x4. Myself and Quinton, because we've been playing it quite a lot, and it runs in his veins. We can play on a 6x4, but you don't need 4x4 with 10, 12 figures is a good evening's entertainment.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
We mentioned a couple of times, okay, Kickstarter, 18th of August. So, why Kickstarter?
Because like everything else, when we did Over the Hills, that was financed by Caliber Books. This is financed by ourselves. So we have spent a certain amount of money getting the book together, getting the figures sculpted, getting the figures produced. Mm-hmm. Paying for the layout of the book and all that sort of thing. And money only runs us to a certain level. Sure. And although we've got faith in the product, it's whether other people are going to have that faith in the product. And that, again, is a learning experience. One of the things we found when we brought out Over the Hills was just virtually a tirade amongst some members of the War Games community that we'd actually brought out another Napoleonic set of rules. And I get that because there's quite a lot out there. So what we didn't want to do was finance everything ourselves, get everything running, say 100 books, 100 sets of figures, and the next thing, people don't believe in it, and we've shelled out a lot of money for something that's not gone anywhere. And I don't think that's going to be the case. I think people are going to buy into it because it speaks for itself. People have played it, and a lot of people have played it at participation games when we've been around the country and absolutely loved it. And the mood music is that it's going to do well. But we want to keep his feet on the ground. We're going to go to Kickstarter and see if that works. I'm sure it will do, and then once that has happened, we'll reinvest the money into the company, and we don't have to go back to Kickstarter.
Yeah, well, yeah. So in this particular instance, you are using it as much as a marketing tool as anything else to see, okay, is there actually that bigger market out there for what we're producing?
Yes, yeah. It's some of it's my money, but it's also my wife's, and she'd batter me if I lost it.
That's completely understandable.
I don't think that. Honestly, I really do believe in it. Every time you talk to people about it, they like yourselves tonight. They're intrigued by it, and they think it sets the mind running. And we've had that lots and lots of times, and people who play it love it.
So, if we can just step back into the rules and what we can do with the game. So, given its RPG, it obviously lends itself to scenario-driven games, and we've already talked a little bit about campaign. How does that work in practice in the game?
So, in the appendices of the book, there's several standalone scenarios, and then there is a set of link scenarios, and that's where we weave the characters from the ones that we've created for people to pick up and play. We've woven them into those link scenarios. So there's a story, and the story starts off with the two commands have heard that there's a French courier somewhere in the area. The French command have got to try and rescue the courier. The British command have got to try and capture him. And it revolves around a farmhouse. And eventually, the French either find the courier or the British find the courier. And the courier actually turns out to have been defeated or has died. But the courier papers are there. And the courier papers explain something.
Excuse me, what's that? Spoiler alert!
There's a lot more to it than that. Believe me, I am touching the surface. Which then links into the next scenario. The next scenario, it links the Spanish guerrillas into the plot, and it goes on like that, where the like a sharp novel would weave in, baddies and goodies throughout the novel. The scenarios do that, which then links it to the final sort of cataclysmic end game between the two commands. But it is all woven together. So that people can pick up the game, pick up the figures, pick up the game, and actually just play the scenarios to a conclusion. And that'll probably take them a couple of days to do over a series of nights. It'd be couple of hours gaming.
Cool, sounds good. Right, okay, so 18th of August is when the Kickstarter starts. How long is it running for, and do you currently have an idea of the sort of prices for the particular pledge levels that you're looking at?
The pledge levels, I've got to sit down with Quinton and finalise, and actually I'm doing that tomorrow, but it's looking around about, I think we're looking around about £15 for the book and £12 to £15 for the figures, or a little bit less, and that's per set of figures. So it'd be looking around about £30 for the lot. But that is at the moment, fast and furious sort of costing, although we have got proper costings. So 18th of August, it'll be the book, French and British, and people, can buy just the book, because I know there's a lot of people out there that've got skirmish figures anyway, but our figures are really nice. There's something different. In fact, they're really chunky 28mm figures. They're really campaigned up, so we've got scratches, missing bits of kit, holes in the trousers, holes in the hats. They're really dynamic looking. So when people see them, I'm sure they'll think, oh yeah, we'll have some of that. So we're hoping that's going to go well for us.
Cool. And so the figures you're producing are heroic 28mm. Does this game easily transport into other scales, say, I don't know, 15mm, 40mm, that sort of thing?
It was a conversation we had when we sort of started talking about, do we develop Forager into a product, in that it could be easily a 40mm game, it could be a 54mm game, and once again, you could play it at 15mm quite easily if if space was an issue, or 15mm was your chosen pleasure, then yeah, easily done.
Right, a second. Neil, it's
Yeah?
6 figures each side. 6 figures each side, mate. Just buy them. Right? You're not getting into 15mm. I know where you're going with this.
Well, no, it's not just that, but as I say, I mean, you're looking at, interestingly enough, with that few number of figures, there's a lot of people out there who will go to 40s for, Pebbies or Pebby 40mm, or do the 54mm with people like of Vitrix or something like that,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to make the figures that we've produced quite chunky, so that when people are looking at them and handling them, they know they've got something different than a normal 28mm figure in the hand. They're robust, they look chunky, and they look different, so there is a USP to the figures as well, that people might go, well, I'm not going to go 54mm, I'm not going to go 40mm, because of what I've got in front of me fits the bill for the pricing point.
I think I'll definitely go for the 28s. I mean, and Neil, just build some more hedges and get Mr. Love to drive us some roads in 28mm. You'll be fine.
You just like getting me into trouble, don't you? Yeah, so as you say, 28mm. Most people have ready-made scenery in 28mm anyway. So it's a good scale to. It's a good scale. I wasn't knocking it. I was just asking, how the rules might translate for other existing collections. However,
you're being tight-fisted and think I've got a load of 50mm to aim.
Yeah, but I haven't got a load of 15mm Napoleonic figures. I've got some 6s. Let's not go there. Yeah.
No.
Okay, so how long is the Kickstarter running for, and when are you looking to actually get this published and out to backers?
Okay, the Kickstarter runs until October, and we want, especially there's going to be various pledge levels, but basic pledges are around the figures and the book. They will get to people before Christmas.
Oh, right, so you're doing like the big like 45 or 60 day sort of Kickstarter, yeah?
Yeah, big Kickstarter. But I think it's not think. We are the basics of the Kickstarter. Will be to people before Christmas, and then depending where you go, because you never know with the Kickstarter how it's going to run and where your pledge levels go and where people commit, and that'll be early New Year for anything over and above. Say for example, if our 8-step goal is going to be release a Spanish guerrilla. If we get all the Spanish guerrillas out, that'll be sometime early 2018.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
So that's Forager, which obviously you're pretty much geared up towards at the moment. However, I mean, is there anything else you got kind of on the boil, or anything else that you're currently producing?
Yeah, we're doing a bit of real work around Over the Hills with a Fifth Coalition document that we've done in conjunction with a guy from JJ's Wargaming blog from down south. He's pitched in with us and developing some scenarios for Over the Hills as well as army lists. Although I'm a part of I'm trying to sort the army lists out, and I think I've done about 4 months' work that I've just chucked in the bin because I've run it past Mike several times and he's not having it, so I've started again. Thanks, Mike.
I just try to help, mate.
Yeah, I do take the hint. See, I do. You know, I respond to negative feedback as well. So that's all got in bin, and I've started again. But yeah, that's we're looking at the Fifth Coalition supplement for Over the Hills. And we're also dipping a toe in the water in terms of where we can take Forager in terms of other periods, and where we can take Over the Hills in other periods. And we're looking at easy wins around PDF American Civil War and a PDF Lace Wars that people can have a look at. Just turning Over the Hills somewhere else. And then again, looking at Forager, where we can take that. Again, ACW springs to mind. And then we're concentrating on looking at ranges of figures that will fit into Forager, because not only we've got it set in the peninsula, but we're well aware that a lot of people want to game 1812 war in Russia, 1812 war in US, Austria, all that sort of stuff. So we want to go other places with it. I think one of the first places we want to go with it is take it to the US and do something around 1812.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, that's it's a period I quite like, and having read your stuff, that's Mike. That's sort of got my juices flowing a bit. So yeah,
yeah, no, that'd be good. I mean, just when you described it, I was sort of thinking of smugglers and redcoat in Cornwall, and that sort of thing, sort of privateers.
All that, you can weave all that sort of thing. I think it's only going to be one of those where Forager comes out, or I'm hoping it is, the Forager comes out and it sets people's mind racing, and before you know it, they've taken the game elsewhere, and they've done that sort of thing and brought smuggling into it, pirating into it, all the stuff that was occurring around the coast of the British Isles and other places during the time as well. Yeah.
No, it'll do well, and it's good to hear that there's going to be some more stuff coming out for Over the Hills, because that's a really good set of rules. Really.
No, I appreciate that. It's done well, to be fair. Again, people that I've seen all the feedback, and I monitor the blogs and all that sort of stuff, and it's not very few and far between where it gets slated. In fact, I ain't seen it slated, to be fair. People will not try it, but then that's because they've got a set of rules that they love and they play, and they don't need to break away from that lovely set of rules. But I think people will be quite shocked to give it a go and get the Napoleonic feel that it gives.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely my go-to sort of battalion level Napoleonic game. Yeah. Because it just works, and it's a great set of rules. Really enjoy playing it.
Good. That's great. That.
Cool. Well, Adrian, it sounds like you've got a really interesting game on your hands, and so especially with the fact that you're bringing it to market and hoping it to have it with us before Christmas. it's nice to know, considering the amount of Kickstarters that are currently around at the moment, which are which are promising delivery in, I don't know, a year or so. It's nice to have something that you can turn around and say, "Oh yeah, order it now," and you can have it in time for Christmas. So, yeah, sounds interesting, mate. Sounds really interesting. And especially with this, your super heroic 28. So it'll be interesting to see what else you're going to produce, and especially if people happen to give you a bit of an issue, whereby you might have to kind of start looking at, I don't know, producing Prussians or Russians or Austrians or...
We're hoping to be fair. Yeah, it's fingers crossed it goes well for us. I'm sure it will. I've got faith in it because I know the feedback we've had with people love it, and you guys' reaction tonight again, it sets the old creative juices flowing in terms of playing a game.
Cool.
We're just sad no lifers we're suckers for the shiny. That's what it is.
Yes, as Mr. Hobbs said, it's only a dozen figures. What's not to like? Yes.
Yeah, it's a bit of a no-brainer, really.
Cool.
Have you already pledged then, Hobbsy?
Not physically, but I think we all know which way this is going to go.
Yes. So Adrian, thank you very much for coming on telling us all about Forager. We wish you all the very best with it. We're obviously, as soon as the Kickstarter launches, by the time you're hearing this, it's just around the corner. I think by the time you hear this, I think it'll be a case of it's launching next week, sort of thing. So watch this space. We will make sure that we put links up to the Kickstarter when it gets launched, and we will follow along with interest.
Thank you very much, boys. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Adrian.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
We hope that you're enjoying this episode of the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. If you are, would you like to support us? There's a couple of ways of doing so. You can become a patron of the show by supporting us on our Patreon page. There you can give regularly every time we produce a show. Alternatively, you may want to give a one-off donation, and you can do that by using PayPal. For more details on both these options, please click on the Donate tab on our website, www.meeplesandminiatures.co.uk.
So what do you think of that then?
Rubbish!
I kind of walked into that, didn't I?
You did.
I did really walk into that.
You did.
Yes.
As straight lines go, that was straight. On a line.
So, skirmish, RPG light, Napoleonic rules.
Sounds
What's
good.
not to like?
Sure, everyone's got a dozen figures floating around that they could use.
Some of us may even have them painted.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
In 28mm.
In 28mm, none of this 15mm malarkey.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, so, we'll give that a go, and we will let you know in due course what we think. Yes, we will be hopefully playing that in the not-too-distant future. We'll let you know, everybody. Okay?
Yeah, I'm quite keen to... may have to haul my way out to Chevu or something to play that if you ever get any figures for it. We should have a Meeples Gaming Day.
Yes, we keep talking about Meeples Gaming Day. I think that's something we will...
The problem with Meeples Gaming Days is some idiot lives in Wales.
Well, we're doing a bit of a partial Meeples Gaming Day soon.
We are. More news on that.
Nobody,
we are.
Nobody invited me.
What are you doing on Friday?
Visiting work in London, I think.
That's why I didn't invite you.
I'm also not allowed to take any holiday in the next week or two.
Trouble is trying to organise a Meeples Gaming Days that there's all these like wargaming shows going on, and you got to try and organise it sometime where we're not involved in other stuff that's going on. So anyway, Yeah, well, look, I have a venue. We just need to kind of sit down and have an organised chat about it. But if people are interested or would be interested in attending a Meeples Gaming Day, let us know. Because obviously, it's only worth doing if people come along. But if you fancy coming along to a Meeples Gaming Day,
I think we'll variously run stuff or not run stuff, as the case may be, depending on how the spirit moves us.
Yes, and it will be somewhere. It'll be somewhere. Potentially around about Junction 18 of the M1. So it is likely to be.
I wonder where that could be.
Yes, it's likely to be a Battlefield Hobbies. Since I have talked to them in the past, and they do have a decent venue for that sort of thing. But if you're interested, let us know.
Let us make it happen.
Next year.
Yes, it'll have to be next year now. Yes, I think it's a little bit a short notice to organise it for sometime this year. But yeah, let's look at doing this next year. Okay, let us know if you'll be interested. So is that about it then, chaps?
You realise you've just caused your mailbox and Twitter to melt down when this episode is published, don't you?
Hey ho, never mind. Yes. So in the meantime, is that about it for this show's proceedings?
Yeah, better had. I've got a bunch of yokai to paint.
Can I note a small piece of amusement? That Games Workshop are being sued for $62 million in the States.
Yeah.
Yes, I did like the News Thumb article on that. Sued for $62.5 million or one Warhammer starter set.
Yeah.
It's not far off the truth, is it? Lord.
Yeah,
yes.
That was.
I suspect this may get dismissed on the grounds of they're pushing their luck, but it's quite amusing.
It has caused a stir in a few areas this week. Yes.
Yes.
Cool. On that note, guys, let me just say thank you once again for joining us. Thank you to the Welsh Wizard himself. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you. Thank you again, as always.
Thank you as well to our resident troubadour, Mr. Whittaker.
How can
thank you.
Be resident and a troubadour? I thought there was some inherent travelling in troubadour that went on, so being resident's a bit difficult.
Indeed.
Anyway, pedantry. Yes, thank you. Welcome as ever.
And once again, thank you to everybody for listening. I hope you enjoyed it.
Good dice.
Yes, until next time. Take care of yourselves. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, why not share it with others by leaving us a review on iTunes? And if you have any comments or questions, you can always email the show. The address is info@meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. And you can also visit our webpage, where you'll find a complete episode archive, all the View from the Veranda podcasts, rules reviews, and our blog of hobby items and news, which is updated several times a week. This is also where you'll find the links to our presence on social media. And here you can follow us on Twitter or join our Facebook group. And finally, here you can also find details should you wish to support us by making a donation to the podcast. All this on the Meeples and Miniatures website, www.meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. The Meeples and Miniatures podcast is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 3.0 Unported license. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.